but buy in bulk and save money so that we can provide better and more services. We better be looking at that. We better be looking at how we can get Michigan going again. We're in serious trouble. I don't know, do you have family members that have left? Do you see all the for sale signs? We have over 85,000 bankruptcies right now. We're just the side of a crisis, and I'll tell you what, if you're one of the people losing your homes or losing your family, it is a crisis. We need to step up and make some decisions here, and disclosure is the biggest part of it. But did you know that there was a great deal of lobbying to stop even that disclosure so that they could put together a bill that would help people? That's one of the problems. One of the problems is the money that's being used to lobby. And that's one of the problems I see, and I didn't do a speech when I left the legislature. Instead, I did something in writing. And I put in there, we have to look at how much money goes in for lobbying and how it impacts legislation. We need to have people not be able to take trips, not to be able to take tickets. And here's something that's a good example. This should have been addressed. The ISDs in the state, 8 of them, they call them the Big 8, they charged over $230 million for things that they didn't do or didn't do with the proper person. The federal government made us give back $230 million. Do you know where that came out of? The Medicaid fund. Where do we have problems? The Medicaid fund. You had people taking money, and did you know nobody followed up? Nobody checked to see how we could get that money back? Nobody held anybody accountable? What a shame. That money, there's a lot of people out there that need that deserve that, and it never got there.
Okay. I have a quick comment. In this group, we had the biggest healthcare economist in the United States, that Dr. Stano is here. I'd like to, if Dr. Stano has some comment on what she mentioned, could you give us some insight of what she said and what he asked?
Caught me by surprise. I was thinking of my own question. Really can't. Obviously, if there be more efficient ways of delivering the health insurance and health care, that's highly desirable. So whatever we can do to move in that direction without compromising quality and access to care would be a plus.
Okay, and then one more thing. As a health economist, in trying to keep the quality of healthcare service in Michigan and at the same time cut the healthcare costs, did you see any way you can suggest to administrators to follow up this kind of policy would be good? Do you have any suggestions? I read your whole book and take a class with you, so I know that you had a lot of insights of health economy.
Well, again, that's kind of the $64,000 question. As we all know, in the United States, one of our major problems is the administration of our healthcare system. There are various estimates, but many suggest that we spend 20 cents of every dollar on administrative costs. So again, to the extent we can streamline, whether through use of information technology, through other economies of scale, rationalization, the administration of health care, the elimination of unnecessary duplicative care, and that goes on a great deal as well. So these are certainly important areas that I know many are looking at and trying to deal with. There's an axiom, an old saw in healthcare, that about 1/3 of healthcare spending is wasted. But the problem is finding out which third. So anything we can do to target in on that third and start cutting out some of the waste, inefficiencies, reducing administrative costs, again, those can achieve tremendous economies for us.
You know what I would like to do, because one of the things I've been asked to do is get ideas wherever I go. It doesn't matter what party you belong to. It doesn't matter what your spectrum of thoughts are. But I would like to get your input on what you think should be happening, too. And so I know we don't have very much time left, but I'd like to take some time to find out from you. Yes?
Along these lines, since it was brought up, I'm just wondering, and I think it was out of your book, so correct me if I'm wrong, but General Motors is the biggest health care supplier in the country?
Well, sometimes say it's the largest, in a quote, insurer in the United States.
Where are you going with that? Just with the loss of that sector and with the cuts that are being proposed and being made in that industry, is it talked about at a state level for example, healthcare becoming private or the government stepping in and taking it out of the hands of employers? Is there any efficiency to be gained there, and is it discussed at the state level?
I don't know if there's been discussions on that, but I know one thing, we have X amount of money, and how we divvy that up is this pie shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. It gets more difficult. So the whole key is to get people back to work for everything that we do. But I would like to take a few minutes here to get some input to take back. Yes, ma'am.
We both have sons who graduated. My son graduated from Oakland. My son graduated from them just recently, and now they're both in Indiana.
Yeah, they're both in Indiana because that's where the jobs were. Did you know Wyoming's come here and recruiting our brightest and our best? And good for them. They have lots of jobs, and at least our kids can get a job. But what a shame that we can't do what Wyoming's doing.
Graduating still.
Congratulations.
They can apply for it too.
Wait, here.
So how do you plan on diversifying the industries of Michigan then? I mean, we're all going to be graduating soon, so are we going to have to go to different states to find jobs? So how are you planning on diversifying the industries of Michigan, not just,
Right. That's a good question. I mean, you have to be diversified. And after this, I'd like to get input from you so I can take it back. But I'd like to take a crack at that one. One of the problems when you have just mostly one industry is Michigan, and we call it riding the wave, at least that's what I've always called it, and it impacts all of us tremendously. And I think it was in 1979 that it got bad before, but not near as bad as this, according to Phil Seaver, who sells one of the biggest title insurance people in the area. He said he's never seen it this bad. So the question is, how do you diversify? And that is, you cannot come in 45th to 49th in business environment, in job environment. We have so many resources. Look at the people here today. Look at the people who are willing to speak up, that are here because they care about things. So what we have to do is make this a state that makes people want to stay here because they can start a business, which is getting rid of the SBT. Did you know some people pay more filling out the SBT papers than they pay for the taxes? It's so complicated now, not to mention onerous and taxes people for jobs. But we have duplication, we have red tape. Sometimes the red tape can take a long time to get through, and people just leave. I've talked to people that say, I've left Michigan because of the red tape. It's just too much. And what happens is government just keeps adding on, and sometimes they don't see the whole picture. You've got city, village, townships, and state government, and how they all work together and what we can do to make it easier for people. And so I think when we get a good job environment by getting rid of some of that red tape, by getting rid of the SBT, you start to make this state desirable. Plus, we can show education needs to be better in some of our schools. Some of them are model, and we should clone them, but the ones that aren't working, we need to help them. We need to help them fix their schools. We want to send a strong message to businesses, and that is that we have a workforce here second to none. And I think we do have people second to none. And we do have a great workforce. But we send bad messages when we tax and red tape, and we let kids not get a good education. Or I shouldn't say we don't let them. What we don't is make sure that they get a good education. And those kinds of things have to change for us to be back in our heyday and beyond. I look at Michigan like a big ship on the Great Lakes, and we're in a heck of a storm. And we've got all hands on deck. We've got the best crew, the best boat. Here we are with a captain, and we're going into the strong winds rather than turning around and getting out of the storm. We need to get changed around. We need to go in a better direction. You already know we have 1/5 of the world's fresh water. We have recreation resources second to none. We have inland lakes and streams. And Sherman Travel recently named the Upper Peninsula in the top 10 summer destinations to visit in the world. In the world. We're right up there with the Greek Isles. We don't invest enough in tourism to get more tourism, but once we become friendly